The joint anti-crisis action plan of the Kazakh government and the National Bank includes maintaining control of inflation and stability in the foreign exchange market, supporting employment and developing entrepreneurship. The Asian Development Bank issued the second gender bond in Kazakhstan. This will increase the volume of women's mortgages in the country. Who can get soft loans and how? Stay tuned for all the details. First Central Asia's master's degree in ethno-political science was launched in the Kazakh capital. The program was developed in accordance with all international standards. 15 questions on trade and economic cooperation and expansion of mutual trade between the EAEU member states were raised by participants in the meeting of the Eurasian Intergovernmental Council in an expanded format in the capital of Kazakhstan. The participants discussed ways to remove barriers within the Union's internal market and promote integration potential in certain sectors of the economy. One of the important issues that they managed to discuss was the progress in implementing the agreement on the mechanism for the traceability of goods as well as the access of partner countries to public procurement. Everything should become simpler, from customs control to sanitary, veterinary and other unreasonable restrictions. The participants of the meeting noted, according to the Prime Minister of Kazakhstan Ilham Ismailov, it's also necessary to establish equal access to transport infrastructure, including seaports. A prerequisite for increasing mutual trade is the creation of a barrier-free environment in the domestic market. If we are interested in creating a transparent market in the EAEU, we need to decide on basic shifts. We suggest that Commission develop a methodology for the economic assessment of the replied barriers. The priority task is to increase export and take measures to stimulate them. The head of government of the EAEU countries approved the Eurasian Agro Express, which provides for the launch of accelerated rail and multimodal transportation. The main task is to increase the volume of mutual deliveries and export of agricultural products and foodstuff. At the first stage, regular shipments outside the EAEU will be organized in two directions, to China and Uzbekistan.
Kazakhstan and Turkey intend to strengthen political, investment, cultural, and humanitarian cooperation. Turkey is one of the country's important partners in this regard. Despite the coronavirus pandemic raging for the last 2 years, bilateral trade exceeds $5 billion in 2021. The parties intend to bring this figure up to $10 billion. Kazakhstan exports oil, copper, and other metals to Turkey. The countries also have many joint projects with the participation of Turkish capital. The 12th meeting of the Kazakh-Turkish Intergovernmental Commission on Trade and Economic Cooperation will be held next week in Nur-Sultan. This meeting, experts say, will give a new impetus to the further development of mutually beneficial partnership. Kazakh residents currently in Ukraine will be evacuated using a repatriation flight. This was reported in the press service of the Kazakh Ministry of Foreign Affairs. The special flight will be carried out by the national air carrier. It is planned that the flight will take place on February 25-26 from the Polish city of Katowice. A visa-free green corridor from the Ukrainian-Polish border to the airport will be provided for citizens of Kazakhstan. All our compatriots are asked to come to Lviv to the Honorary Consulate of Kazakhstan. For more information, please call the hotline.
The government of Kazakhstan and the National Bank have developed and are implementing an anti-crisis action plan. Its goal is a prompt response to the likely negative socio-economic consequences resulting from the events taking place in Ukraine. In particular, the action plan includes measures aimed at maintaining control over inflation and stability in the foreign exchange market, supporting employment and developing entrepreneurship. Also, the emphasis will be on the support and development of rural settlements, mono and small towns. Up to 200 billion tenge will be allocated for their development. State support and financing will be received by the agro-industrial complex and industry.
There is not a single region in the red zone in Kazakhstan. Over the past day, 523 new cases of coronavirus have been detected in the country, most of all in Almaty, 144, in North Kazakhstan region, 70, in Kostanay region, 49. Since the beginning of the pandemic, the number of coronavirus cases detected in the country has exceeded 1,301,000. According to the latest data of Kazakh Ministry of Health, more than 24,000 Kazakh residents continue to receive treatment for coronavirus, of which over 3,000 are in hospitals. To date, 8,972,000 people in Kazakhstan have been fully immunized with two components. Revaccination covered more than 2.5 million people. The U.S. increased the interval between the two components of a vaccine. The country's Center for Disease Control and Prevention recommends that people over the age of 12 receive a second dose of the vaccine only after 8 weeks. Previously, the interval between the two vaccinations was 21 to 28 days. According to the results of new studies, the longer the interval, the higher the effectiveness of a vaccine. The vaccination procedure is changing. In the future, the treatment will be used like a flu vaccine. A third of Americans didn't even get their first dose. We need to inform them about the benefits of the vaccination and vaccinate them. And those who received both components and who are over 50 should receive a booster shot. In addition, starting from the coming fall, people with weakened immune systems need to receive a fourth dose of the vaccine, as the drug resistance to the epidemic begins to weaken. The EU Council recommended that the Union member states allow tourist trips to third country nationals from March 1st, but on the condition that they have been fully vaccinated against the coronavirus or they are traveling from states included in the EU Green List. In addition, it is allowed to remove restrictions for vaccinated travelers if the vaccines received are approved in the EU. In this case, the last vaccination or booster dose must be received no earlier than 2 weeks and no later than 9 months before the trip. If the tourists are vaccinated with drugs approved only by the WHO, then any of the countries participating in the Union may require a negative PCR test or introduce quarantine. The number of scholarship holders under the Bolashak program will be increased. This became known at a meeting of the National Commission for Training Personnel Abroad. At the same time, preference will be given to technical majors. They plan to expand the list of higher educational institutions where Kazakh citizens will be able to improve their skills. The categories of employees eligible for internships in 2022 have also been approved. These are engineering and medical employees, staff in the field of culture, tourism and sports, the agro-industrial complex, media workers, civil servants, scientists, and teachers.
Kazakhstan begins preparing Masters of Ethno-Political Science. The new 2-year training program, which kicked off in the capital of the country, has now analog in Central Asia. The educational program was developed in accordance with all professional standards. Natalia Kalashnikova, head of the Kazakhstan Ethnic Assembly Department at the Eurasian National University, spoke about this in an interview with Kazakh TV channel. According to her, training of experts in the field of ethnopolitics is a matter of national importance. Graduates of this major in the future will be able to become experts in political sphere. This profession is multifaceted. The new program was implemented on the scientific and educational basis of the departments of journalism, political science, and international relations.
Мы, значит, очень долго рассуждали, обсуждали этот вопрос, и большую помощь нам в этом оказали этнокультурные объединения. То есть они, включая регионы...
We argued about and discussed this issue for a very long time, and ethnocultural associations provided great help to us in this. That is, they, including the regions, confirmed that there is a demand for ethnopolitical scientists. We looked at various programs tested by the Dublin standards through the Bologna process, and today in the group of educational program is political science. A 2-year master's scientific and pedagogical direction is already being implemented. These should be individual experts who can, and we train them for this, work in different areas.
Разные эксперты, которые могут, и мы их готовим для этого, работать в разных сферах.
The Asian Development Bank issued the second gender bond in Kazakhstan. For these purposes, the financial organization attracted 14 billion tenge, or about $32 million. Gender bonds are fixed income securities that finance exclusively those projects that support women's empowerment. These include projects that enable women access to finance, financial literacy, education, and more. The funds are used within the Gender Equality in Housing Finance project. This will expand the lending operations of the Odbasi Bank and therefore provide the female residents of Kazakhstan with affordable mortgages. This will particularly affect women living in the rural regions of the country.
But the intention from this program was for ADB to reach more than 3,000 eligible women and provide them with long-term affordable mortgage financing, of which we were targeting to reach 60% to women in rural areas and at least 20% to low-income women borrowers. So that the fact that Odbasi Bank has come back to us after 1 year and asked to withdraw a larger amount than the first disbursement encourages us that the project is going well.
In total, the ADB issued more than $3.2 billion in thematic bonds to support projects not only in the field of gender equality, but also in the areas of education, health, and water resources. According to ADB Assistant Treasurer Jonathan Gross-Venner, investors are increasingly putting their money into solving environmental and social problems. "50 Afghan women will receive higher education in universities of Kazakhstan." This became known at the consultative meeting of special representatives of the EU and Central Asian countries on Afghanistan in Tashkent. The issues of restoring the Afghan economy and implementing joint infrastructure projects were discussed at the meeting. In addition, the special representatives expressed support for the initiative to create a multifunctional transport and logistics centers in the Uzbek city of Termez for the delivery of humanitarian aid to Afghanistan.
Мы видим Афганистан как дружеской, миролюбивой страной, которая...
We see Afghanistan as a friendly and peaceful country that would like to trade with its closest neighbors and would certainly make its feasible contribution to regional security. Afghanistan must stop being a source of threat. We have decided to continue educational programs in Afghanistan. This year, 105 girls have been recruited who will have the opportunity to study at universities in Central Asia. Of this number, 50 will study in Kazakhstan, the rest in Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan.
Девушек приедут в Казахстан. 30 для Узбекистана и 25 для Кыргызстана.
Alisher Navai and Kazakh literature. The work of the Uzbek writer Kaldebek Seydanov was presented in Uzbekistan. His work Kandashlar was also presented. In total, the writer published 23 books and over 740 articles. Most of them were published in Kazakh language. The literary scholar studied the creative heritage and connection between the great personalities of the two countries, Abay and Navai. In addition, Kaldebek Seydanov wrote a Kazakh literature textbook for Kazakh schools in Uzbekistan.
Көп еңбектер жаздым. Сөйтіп, осы екі халықтың достығын әсіресе көбірек жырлап, көбірек нағылдым.
I have written many works. Most of them are dedicated to the friendship of two peoples, Kazakh and Uzbek. The example of this can be found in the book Abay and the Literature of Asia. This year we celebrate the 125th anniversary of Mukhtar Awezov. At the moment, I'm preparing the publication Mukhtar and Literature of Central Asia and an educational guide. I attach great importance to the education of young people. I hope that my books will help them in their development as individuals.
Жастардың тәрбиесіне ерекше көңіл бөлемін. Оны оқып шыққан балалар сондай ұлы тұлға болып қалыптасады деп ойлаймын өз басым.